the past few months, some biotech stocks have really begun to pick up steam again. Take Seattle Genetics, SGEN, a mid-sized biotech company with a stock that's caught fire lately, including a monster almost 7% move just today. Seattle Genetics specializes in fighting cancer. Specifically, they use antibody-drug conjugates, that's ADCs. The company combines a cancer-seeking antibody with a cancer-killing drug. It's like the biological equivalent of a guided missile. Now, Seattle Genetics currently has only one product on the market, Adcetris, which has FDA approval as a treatment for classical Hodgkin lymphoma and relapsed systemic anaplastic large cell lymphoma. Last year, it generated more than $265 million in sales. This is a real company with real sales. Management thinks it can hit $290 to $310 million this year. But the exciting thing here is the pipeline. Seattle Genetics is using their antibody-drug conjugate platform to develop a bunch of new compounds. They've got a treatment for acute myelogenous leukemia in phase 3, another lymphoma therapy in phase 2. Just yesterday, the company announced a phase 2 trial for cervical cancer, and that's in partnership with Genmab. So can this stock keep roaring? Let's check in with Dr. Clay Siegall, the co-founder, chairman, and CEO of Seattle Genetics, to learn more about how his company's doing and how it's trying to wipe out cancer. Dr. Siegall, welcome back to Mad Money. It's been a long time. Have a seat. You have been doing unbelievable things since we've seen you last, selling, making real sales, but really saving lives. And this new breakthrough designation sounds like something. I want you to tell our people what it's about.
Sure. So Adcetris is on the market for relapsed or refractory Hodgkin lymphoma, and it's doing really well, and we're excited with the product. But we wanted to get it to frontline cancer patients, right, newly diagnosed patients, so we could see if there's a way that we can have long-term disease-free survival that leads to a higher cure rate in this disease, since in Hodgkin lymphoma, you can actually achieve cures. And so we did a study that took 5.5 years and over 1,300 patients to prove that we can actually do that. And at the same time, what was also important was getting rid of one of the components of the standard therapy, which caused lung scarring and was fatal in some small percentage of patients. But we wanted to get rid of one of the old drugs and add a new targeted therapy. And our data is strong, and the FDA awarded us breakthrough designation. We're planning to submit for approval later this year and hopefully get approval in 2018.
How big is that market?
There's about 8,500 patients diagnosed each year in the U.S. with Hodgkin lymphoma.
Right.
And there'll be the advanced patients with Hodgkin lymphoma will certainly get this drug first. And that's where we're earmarking, which is probably about 6,000 of them.
Now, if you worked for 5.5 years, this drug must have cost you a lot of money to develop.
Yeah, it's a drug, but that is expensive to develop. But we are working with a partner, Takeda Pharmaceuticals,
right,
and we discovered and developed the drug, and we partnered with Takeda. We sell it and market it in the U.S. and Canada. They market it outside of the U.S. and Canada, and we're now approved in 67 countries.
Wow. Okay. Now, how about you've got something going on for bladder cancer? Again, these are difficult cancers, and apparently you're having some success.
Yeah, in bladder cancer, we have a drug that is also an ADC. It's targeted to something called Nectin-4, and we're doing this in collaboration with Astellas, which is another big pharmaceutical company, and we each own half in this one, so it's a little different than our deal with Takeda. And we're developing a drug, we call it EV, short for enfortumab vedotin. But EV has a very high response rate, over 50% in patients with relapsed bladder cancer. And so that is higher than the alternatives for patients to choose. So we have a registration trial that we announced that started yesterday in patients. It started yesterday, so we announced it. We've worked with the FDA to design it. It's 120 patients, patients that are relapsed that have seen checkpoint inhibitors. I'm sure you've talked about these Opdivo, Keytruda, and those have been approved.
You're talking about a Bristol-Myers and a Merck partnership in that sense, those drugs.
Yeah. Well, those drugs are approved in the relapse setting.
Right,
But only about 20% of patients respond. So what we're doing is our drug was over 50% response rate. So after patients have seen the checkpoint inhibitors, they would come onto this drug, and that's going to be our first approval. But we already are working on combination therapies with the checkpoint inhibitors, such as Merck's Keytruda.
Okay, last one, cervical cancer, terrible cancer, early, right? You're doing some early work, but it looks like you might have some success?
Yeah, we're doing work with cervical cancer, and once again, we have a partnership with a company called Genmab. And they're a European company, fantastic company, and we have a great working relationship with them. And we have a drug that's targeted to something called tissue factor, and it's expressed highly on cervical cancer patients. So we went into patients that have relapsed cervical cancer, and we have a very strong response rate. So we went to FDA and with our partners, and FDA is encouraging us and working with us on doing a 100-patient approval trial, registration trial, that should start early next year. And so we announced that as well, that we've met with the FDA. We have a really good plan here. So we're going toward approval, and Seattle Genetics is really changing from a one-drug company to a multi-product oncology company addressing unmet medical needs.
Well, this happened very quickly, actually, because we saw you a couple years ago when we were out in Seattle. You're doing fantastic work. That's Dr. Clay Siegall. He's the chairman, president, and CEO of Seattle Genetics. This is the kind of company you could put in your portfolio, and it may just turn out to be very big for you. Mad Money's back after the break. Booyah! Jim Cramer here from Mad Money. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube. Click here to subscribe and get the jump on my exclusives with CEOs, plus market news, investing advice, and a whole lot more.